retreat design. And by the way, if you visited our table, I know some of you have been talking to several of you. This is kind of what Dave and I do. David and I have run a business together, a business called Practical Preppers, and that's kind of what we do is retreat design. And every area that he has for expertise, I have nothing about, and likewise. So we've balanced each other out very well. We cover a lot of topics, a lot of subjects dealing with prepping, retreat design. Let's start off with what am I talking about? What is a retreat? In the prepping or survival community, it can be known as a bug-out location. It might be your home, your existing home. You don't plan on going anywhere. That's my situation. My retreat is where I live, and that might be the same for most of you. And just curious, how many people are planning on staying if there was a difficult situation in this room where you are? Okay. And bugging out, anybody willing to? There's a much smaller group of people bugging out, but same ideas go into designing a retreat, and same subjects. So this is kind of a composite definition. And a retreat is a self-sufficient, easily defended lifeboat to protect my family and as many other like-minded people as possible. And my wife and I have, like I said before, felt for at least a year that was our calling, was to help people develop lifeboats. And that came, her praying, me praying, just kind of came, this is what we're doing. So this is what we've been doing for the last year. And so let's talk about, we're going to talk about all these. Each one of these will take 30 minutes. Is everybody okay? This is important. This is life. Okay. I'm only going to, a lot of these are addressed by the various speakers here today. I'm just going to touch on a few of these. And I'm going to concentrate on energy, electricity, thermal energy, and we'll go with that. I will say a few things. Ryan already addressed land. In the priorities when you're choosing a bug out location, maybe you're going to stay put and you're like, this is just what we have, and it's good enough. But if you're looking for a piece of property, the top priorities again would be water. Is it easily defendable? And is it in a lightly populated area? And those are kind of, you can go out from there, but that's basically, because we're getting people, they're interested in designing a retreat, pulling a community, networking with people. It's like, before you buy your land, let's go look at it. Let's go look at so we're talking with a few realtors, let's go look at the land. And we've said, don't do this. You have never lived in the country, this is not a good location. It's got some natural resources on it, but it's not defendable. Or it doesn't have any resources on it. There's no water. This would be a bad move. So we try to catch people before they actually purchase a piece of property. Okay, energy. A lot of resources, a lot of sources we're going to talk about here. And I always like to say, a little electricity solves a lot of problems. If you think ahead, we're so dependent upon it. But if a little bit of electricity really goes a long way. And whether you're needing electricity to cool down a nuclear reactor, or you need batteries for your bug-out bag flashlight, maybe you have a CPAP machine. Maybe, as we read in 1 second after, if John only had a refrigerator that ran off a DC, he could have kept that insulin from deteriorating and probably kept his daughter with them a lot longer. And so a little bit of electricity solves a lot of problems. It also allows you to concentrate on what is more important, like security, if you're not constantly trying to go back into the 1800s. So, and with the events we've talked about, going from the 21st century back into the 18th century or 19th century would be scary. And so a little bit of technology applied to some old school ideas would really help the retreat, help everybody out. A little bit of electricity goes a long way. A little bit of fuel goes a long way as well. Always like to, we have no idea how cheap our fuel is, though we complain and whine about it, but the fuel, how efficient it is in our, I'm just going to do this little exercise. So just say, and I know there's more than 500 people. Say there are 500 people in this room, and you drove a half hour to get here. Okay? You drove at 50 miles an hour. You weren't riding with me, and your vehicle gets 20 miles to the gallon. Okay, with 500 people, drove a half hour to get to the seminar. You're driving 50 miles an hour, and your vehicle gets 20 miles to the gallon. 1 gallon of gasoline is 500 man-hours of work. The average person working That's how much energy is contained in 1 gallon of gasoline. We would have burned up 312,500 man-hours of work. That's just a big number. So if an EMP happened right now, and we had to push our vehicles back to where we came from, that's 312,500 man-hours of work. We take our fuel, we take our resources for granted, and so it's very important. I wanted you to think about the luxuries that we have. So we need to plan ahead if we want to live comparable to the way we're living today. So a little fuel goes a long way. Okay. One of the things when you're trying to figure out your retreat, how much energy do we need? Are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to start cutting now? Are we willing to change out appliances and live a different lifestyle, simplify things? Very important. Start figuring out how much power do we actually use. Now, if we add 6 families to this retreat, how much power are we going to need to maintain that type of lifestyle and start working that out? When it comes to retreat design, you're working this thing from both sides, from your usage and from the input side of how much energy you have. So, energy consumption, just some thoughts. I want to give you some ideas, maybe some energy sources that you have in your community, maybe right around you, maybe on your own property that you haven't thought about. And we're going to talk about we're not going to talk about all of this. Down the list you can see it, the wind, solar, hydrogen, gasoline, aviation fuels, propane, natural gas, diesel, wood gas, hydro, tags, thermoelectric generators, I'll get into that, methane, ethanol, methanol. I have all these in 10,000 gallon quantities on my place. Just kidding. That's bad. But we're working towards it. But it's kind of like it's like food. How much food? There's got to be a minimum. You got to come up with a minimum amount of fuel and energy you need to store, and then we'll talk about how to store in a little bit.